All right, just a quick one before we get going. So please don't take anything you hear in today's episode as financial advice. Please speak to a trained professional if you do wish to participate in markets. Crypto is inherently risky and you will lose all your money, particularly if you listen to us for financial direction. So enough of that. Please give us a like, subscribe, enjoy the show, and see you next time.
We're back with Dan from Overtime Markets. Thales, I think I've pronounced it correctly.
Perfect.
Sports betting platform, really like on chain. There's so much to unpack here. Dan, welcome. It's really cool to have you. I know that you're super busy. There's been a new Ethereum upgrade. Blobs is live. You're loving it. You've been smiling ever since you came on. Give us a brief intro in terms of who you are, what you do at Overtime Markets, and yeah, give us a rundown in terms of who, what, when, and where. Go for it.
Will do. It's a good day to chat, like you said. I'll try to keep it relatively brief. I'm the founder of Thales protocol. Thales is a protocol that was spun out from synthetics binary options about 3 years ago. And yeah, it started with binary options, but we've built the architecture in a way where we can do any sort of prediction markets. And being huge sport fans and just kind of understanding the sports betting side of things, we find all the Web3 ethos like decentralization, it being permissionless and trustless, to be a really good fit for sports betting. So we rolled out a product deemed Overtime or Overtime Markets about a year and a half ago. And it's just been our flagship product ever since. I'm personally a software architect, been at it for like 15 years. I've been in the space about 6 years or so, mostly with synthetics. Yeah, I think that would cut it for a brief intro.
Okay, great. So, I mean, obviously, the sports betting side of things we've seen has been kind of like there's been quite a bit of an emergence, obviously, during the bear market. Almost, you could almost say that kind of like the crypto market was dead and people were bored, and it was kind of like this outlet, and we saw the success of Rollbit and what they did. Obviously, like proper DJing kind of market, but I almost get the feeling like you guys are a little bit more serious about the way that you're approaching the product and the way that you're interpreting clients' needs. I wanted to just kind of like get into, what the motivation was from the shift. You guys had this idea around a product originally as A, and now it's become B, and what has led you guys to arrive at this point? You started there, and now you kind of like gone a little bit left field. I'm just curious as to what the thinking was at the time. Was the bear market factor that determined this? How did that come about?
So we've always had this idea. So like ever since we picked off this binary options product from synthetics, we always saw a fit for sports markets, like also personal like affiliations. I guess we just love sports and sports betting, so we kind of knew our stuff around it. But definitely the market sentiment, like kind of we were at all-time low users maybe when we were spinning out Overtime in terms of like decentralized finance. And like you've said, like sports betting kind of offered this relief where you don't have to look at like Bitcoin or ETH price action all the time. You can do something different but still do it on chain. But I also feel it's a really good market fit for like I've been saying, for smart contracts where you kill the middleman. There's no more trust factor. There's no more like centralized entities that can ban you or withdraw your or not allow you to withdraw your winnings or your deposits. And to be frank, you've touched upon Rollbit, but like Rollbit is all this. Like they accept crypto, they are kind of on Solana, but there are no smart contracts. You still need to KYC to withdraw your money. So like this is everything we are not. So.
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions I was going to ask you is like, what is Overtime Markets? Like, what problems are you guys essentially solving? I mean, it seems like it's an obvious question to ask, but it's also really important, kind of like permissionless, trustless, decentralization. So how does that kind of like look like from the architecture of the protocol itself at the moment? So if I go onto the website and I go to Overtime Markets, how does the whole process work? What is the interactive process that determines, all of these good things that crypto has to offer and decentralization has to offer us?
Yeah, great question. Overtime markets is a pure dApp, meaning it's nothing but a wrapper around smart contracts. As we know, smart contracts are completely permissionless, so like you don't need to KYC, you don't need to deposit on a certain entity that will hold your funds, your keys, your money. So you just need a smart wallet with some funds on it, and you can interact with smart contracts. And all that overtime markets does is just kind of makes all those things more semantic, all those things that happen on smart contract level. So when you want to bet on a certain game, be that NFL or whatever you may be a fan of, basically you choose a team, and what the contract does, it means ERC20 tokens representing your position, and it also fully collateralizes every single position. So like your winnings are guaranteed. The platform can never become insolvent by its nature, by just smart contract logic. And all the odds that you see, all the results that you see on overtime are being served to the blockchain by Chainlink oracles. And this is why I firmly believe the tech stack of overtime markets, it's like the best tech stack for prediction markets and for sports betting that there is on any blockchain right now.
That's awesome. I mean, I was going to get into, the other question was like, how do you determine those odds, versus, your more kind of centralized, like your Hollywood bets and all those guys. I mean, I'm probably the worst person to speak to around sports betting because I run a mile when I see that. I see all these numbers, but obviously you've got Chainlink fulfilling that role. I was not aware that Chainlink obviously participated in this kind of market. Is it any different to, kind of like crypto pricing and whatever, like commodities pricing or asset pricing? How does that actually work within the product stack that Chainlink has, and how do they kind of like bring that pricing across into what it is that you guys are doing? Bit of a technical question, but I really am curious as to like how that works.
Sure, I love technical questions the most. It's very similar in a sense to crypto prices, meaning that they take a bunch of Web2 sources, those being notably APIs that serve odds, and aggregate those to serve as the odds as they are on Web2. And then we are allowed to kind of do our own thing on them. And what we're doing is we have an automated market maker contract that takes those base odds. Say a game is 50-50, so you'd have 50-50 odds. But then we apply our own logic to it, meaning risk management. So if everyone on overtime just picks the home team, will increase the price, or will make the odds kind of worse for the home team, but will give better odds on the away team. So we are actively trying to rebalance and get people to arbitrage our exposure. But the base odds, like if those are 50-50, that's being served by Chainlink, who are getting their odds from like Pinnacle, BetMGM, so all the possible Web2 sources that are available to them.
Okay, Dencun, Blobs, you've been super stoked about it today. Tell us about, kind of like, you guys are obviously on Optimism, Arbitrum, and Base. You chose wisely around the L2s from a cost perspective, but now it's even cheaper. Now there's like a real benefit to this upgrade. Tell us about what Dencun has endeavored to do, and then tell us whether it's worked and how that's benefited or not benefited you guys.
We actually struggled, and we had this big hurdle with the gas costs, especially last month or so. I mean, it's always good that market is in recovery. Maybe we are officially already into a bull market, but the gas costs have been really high. And our logic is quite complex, meaning that when you create a transaction on overtime, or more notably, if you do a parlay, which is where you combine multiple games on the same ticket, a lot of stuff goes on in the background, and that stuff costs like computation gas. So before Dencun, like on Arbitrum, for example, you'd have to pay north of like $3 to create a parlay, which isn't really retail friendly. It's not what people
Yeah.
are used to, like especially people in sports betting. They like to do those impossible to win parlays, like 1 million odds for just like $1, right? So you never know,
Yeah.
a lottery ticket per se. But if you have to pay like $1 for the parlay and you pay $3 for the gas costs, like that's
Yeah.
like non-starter. And what Dencun did is, and it's been at the time of this call, it's been formally only released on Optimism. Arbitrum will follow in a few hours, and I'm very eager to see how it does there. But on Optimism and on Base, as a chain that inherits from Optimism, the gas costs have dropped. Like I feel it's dropped 1000x. So what used to cost like $3 now costs below 1 cent. And this is amazing for us. This means that we can now go very strongly into marketing efforts. We can sponsor user gas transactions. We can use account abstraction. We've been working with Biconomy to kind of obfuscate all the complexity of a smart wallet. So meaning you can use your social login, be that like, I don't know, Instagram, whatever you like, and create a smart wallet and just need to deposit somehow from a text or from a credit card, and you're good to go. You can use this, very cool, fully decentralized platform without giving your data away, without having to worry about any restrictions or bans or like insolvency. So yeah, really, really excited about it. And as you said, I've been smiling the whole day. I'm happy after a long time seeing all this, to be honest.
That's awesome. So yeah, congrats. It's very cool to hear, especially a day after launch, like that you guys are already seeing the benefit. And it seems like there were like really strong hurdles or big hurdles ahead of you around this whole thing. And it's great to see that there is a fundamental problem that's been solved here. I want to just kind of like visit this idea of account abstraction. I think account abstraction is probably the single biggest hurdle that we face at the moment in crypto. And based on how you're nodding your head, you obviously agree with me on that. And I'm just curious as to, you've built this product, you guys started out with A, you've now got B, now you're thinking about account abstraction and how do we get essentially everyone into the space, because it does have serious value proposition, and not the anonymity aspects, obviously being able to do transactions that literally cost you nothing. But the biggest hurdle is going to be, how do we get these individuals into the space without them even knowing that they're coming on chain? Are you guys approaching it from that perspective as account abstraction? What's the strategy around that going into? Obviously, that's where you need to go. That's where you're going to get the majority of your clients.
We kind of already approached it, and even if you go on Overtime right now, you have the option to use a social login. So for end user, from the previous path where you have to create a smart wallet and you probably don't know even where to start with it, there's this thing called seed phrase, and everyone's screaming at you, be very preservative about your seed phrase, like probably scaring you away from even trying it all. Then how do you deposit? What's this gas transaction? Why is my transaction stacked? So like account abstraction obfuscates all of that. There's one click, choose Google login if you prefer. And there are third-party providers for like wallet creation, taking your Google SSO, single sign login, so and creating your wallet for you. And then it's just about depositing some crypto funds to that wallet. And you can do that in many ways. You can go to Binance and you can withdraw some funds to that address, or you can even use credit cards depending on, what kind of support there is for direct credit card on-ramps in the country you're in. And after that, and especially with really cheap transaction costs right now, we can fully sponsor gas costs. So basically that becomes a non-factor for you. So there you are, you have your wallet, you just did like 2 clicks, and now you can use this decentralized on-chain sports betting platform where there are huge rewards for you. There's the benefit of actually taking the other side and being the house, something that you have never been able to do in Web 2. So you can also get profits just by providing liquidity, many other rewards all around, and it's all instantaneous and trustless. So yeah, really seeing the product fit myself, and I hope we'll get people to see it very soon as well.
So I mean, obviously there's this constant evolution that I think at the very core of what crypto is, it's like evolution all the time. It's like, what are we doing? There's this upgrade, there's that upgrade. You guys recently just went through an upgrade, very kind of like a familiar thing during the bear market is like we put a product out, we test it. In many ways, it does become an experiment. We realize that there needs to be certain changes. A version 2 was then released, which is obviously quite a a big thing for any protocol to undergo a version 2. Tell us a little bit about the version 2 side of things. It's fine if you kind of repeat some of the stuff that you've already mentioned, but I think it's really important to kind of touch on primarily the tokenomics, because that's always an interest for people, when token and how does that work and where the value proposition lies in that. But more importantly, around what does V2 look like for you guys? And then are you happy with V2? And if you aren't, is there like a V3, or is it cool for now? Like, just give us an idea in terms of the product itself, the build, and this journey that you guys have been through.
Will do. But if I may just clarify there before I go into details, we released V2 tokenomics, so that's on the Thales DAO aspect of things. But V2 for overtime specifically, it's being worked on right now, so not fully live yet. I'll first elaborate on the V2 version of tokenomics, where we basically switched to a revenue share model, or introduced it per se. And this is where I was, talking about on-chain sportsbooks having this unique opportunity for users, where you can take the other side of, being the house per se. And so if you hold and stake the Thales token, you are eligible to get a share of all the revenue the platform makes. You can also choose to directly provide liquidity to our AMMs for sports trading, where you are also eligible for all the AMM performance. It's been very performant per se. So that would be the V2 side of tokenomics, and we are quite happy with it. It's tangible, so we are seeing in average 20% annualized returns for everyone who has been depositing. So it's good to see all that kind of already being very tangible and effective, but we are very early. Like, the volume and the users we are seeing right now, it's nothing compared to what we expect it to be. Even if we capture, I don't know, like 0.00001% of the market share, like we are talking, millions, if not billions of dollars in volume. And now to get into overtime V2. So overtime V2 is in the works, and it's basically expanding on the offering right now. We have a number of leagues and markets, but we feel to really to reach that product parity against Web2, we need things like live betting. We need many more different markets. If you're a soccer fan, we need things like halftime results, halftime end result. We also need to capture this bull momentum and have. Right now we're just using stable coins as collateral. We want to introduce the possibility to use ETH, or eventually maybe wrapped Bitcoin, because we're in Ethereum as collaterals. So just kind of hit the nail on the head, meaning we anticipate everything we need long term, and kind of build this into this new architecture so that we can scale 1000x. And yeah, live betting is definitely a huge thing, and that's a big chunk of V2 work goes towards that.
On the sports betting itself, is that something that you guys predetermined? So is it like the sports game's happening, so we'll put it up, or is it something that players can come in and also kind of like request in real time and get some kind of a spread or whatever the case might be off the back of that?
It's predetermined in that sense that Chainlink, as I was explaining, Chainlink nodes like see what's happening on the API, and all those games that have odds are being served to overtime.
Okay, great. In terms of the test case of what it is that you guys are doing, I know that you ran a campaign during the Super Bowl, this recent Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago. Just talk us through that process and why that was essentially like a significant moment for you guys, and what was kind of like anticipated and what were the results thereof.
We're always running these incentives campaigns where we are promoting the biggest sport events. Obviously, Super Bowl, arguably the biggest sport event of the year. And we like gamifying things. We like offering users this quest-like, campaigns or whatever, where they can do certain actions and get rewarded to it. And what it effectively means that on top of offering very competitive odds on those games, we also offer a lot of incentives that, when factored in, you're actually kind of almost getting paid to use overtime right now. And it's just a huge opportunity. So when you compare overtime to your Web2 sports books, you get competitive odds, you get extra rewards, you don't have to give your data away, you don't have to be concerned about being restricted or banned. I keep reiterating those, but it's just incredible to me how good of a product fit overtime is, and how undervalued it still is per se. We're doing a huge March Madness campaign very soon. I know that a lot of people love March Madness. It's people like to say it's one of those like true sports in terms that money hasn't kicked in yet. It's just pure sports, pure competition, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing this huge campaign where you can mint your bracket. There are like 60 free games, and you can mint a bracket, who will move to the second round all the way to the finals. And there will be also a huge rewards pool for those that do the best brackets, that have the best prediction rate.
So in terms of March Madness, there was kind of like, you guys also have, like, from the reward side of it, you guys have ARB. So what are the rewards that you guys have within the context of this whole promotional thing that you guys have got going?
Yep. We received an ARB grant a while ago, and it's been
okay.
heavily used recently. As I was saying, it almost pays to use overtime even right now. For March Madness specifically, there will be 30,000 ARB just going to those that just use overtime to bet on March Madness games. On top of that, there will be 5,000 ARB tokens added to the prize pool for all the brackets. To mint a bracket, there's a minting cost of 50 USDC, and so all those minting accrued funds are added to 5,000 ARB and are getting distributed to top 20 predictors per se.
Just explain the minting process for me again, just so you essentially have a predetermined bracket that you decide on as
No,
someone who's betting.
actually,
No.
you can choose. Look, so March Madness schedule will be known this Sunday after Selection Sunday. So you'll know all the first round games, and basically,
Yeah.
minting a bracket means starting on that first round, choosing who you think will win, and then you move to
Okay.
the second round, you choose who will win, and you get all the way to the final, and then you can mint that bracket as an NFT.
Yes.
And basically you own that bracket as an NFT, and all the minting funds go into a pool, and at the end of the competition, we know who are the top 20 predictors by number of games that they have guessed, and we distribute those prizes.
Well, that's cool. I mean, so you kind of brought in, well, not kind of, you have brought in the NFT side of it, and kind of like created that, essentially that timeless stamp on the blockchain, which is super cool.
Exactly.
Well
And it
done.
was
Yeah.
yeah, it's this gamification aspect that I was saying, that we love to add those kind of like competitive gamification things to all the huge events.
Yeah. Okay. So just coming back to the liquidity side of it, because at the end of the day, I am a DeFi maxi, so I'm going to have to ask this. If people are wanting to provide liquidity, you did mention that there is kind of like a share in the fees. Is it just about that, or do they get a share in kind of like part of winnings or losses that are incurred by players, or is that a separate aspect?
Um, Two sides of it. If you just want to get fees, you stake Thales. You get Thales token, you stake Thales. You get
Yes.
fees without any exposure to what the players do. If you
Okay.
want to get exposure to how the players perform, you provide liquidity to the AMM contracts that make, just sports betting on chain, and then you're exposed to winnings and losses. That said, it's been very profitable, but all of our LP pools are like 30 to 50% up since inception. So like if you deposited
Nice.
$100 on inception, you'd have between 130 and 150 right now.
Okay, and how long have you guys been kind of like active? Like, when was official launch for you guys?
It's been for around the World Cup 2022, so I'd say
Okay.
1.5 years more or less.
Okay. And then just in terms of like navigating the bear itself, I mean, I know that you guys are obviously building and the rest of it. What were kind of like the things of interest that you took away from this bear as a developer and as a builder? I mean, was there anything that stood out besides just the market being shit? I mean, was it a positive experience for you guys as a team, or was it overall a negative experience?
It's very positive to still be breathing after all of that. It wasn't
Yeah.
easy, like just mentally speaking, all the FUD, all the noise kind of affects you. It's difficult to engage users, but that's, where it's good to kind of be doing something that's decoupled from all the kind of price action that crypto does. Um, we kept our heads down. Everyone says bear is good for builders. Keep your head down, keep iterating on the product, come up, on top when bear ends, and be ready to kind of, just enjoy the reap the benefits now that bull is around the
Yeah.
corner.
So where do you think we are in terms of quite, I mean, obviously quite unique that we're seeing Bitcoin at all-time highs before the halvening. You've obviously, this is not your first rodeo. You've seen this before.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's quite different from that perspective, just from a personal perspective on the market. I mean, where do you think we're going in light of this all-time high before halvening? What does the rest of the year look like for Dan?
It's surprising what happened. It happened so quickly, right? We went from
Yeah.
like, full on bear FUD and everything to like all-time high
So,
in what, in 2 months, right?
yeah. Sell
uh,
the news didn't really materialize into sell the news. It was really weird.
yeah, and like you've said, I've been here for a while and I've seen it happening before. um even bull market isn't ideal for builders, at least not for builders who try to make it legit as we do,
Yeah.
like with
Mm.
legit use cases that actually improve upon a multi-billion web 2 industry, meaning that there was no attention to be had maybe in bear market, but now the attention is going towards meme coins, AI coins, centralized L1s. So you're still kind of grasping your way to just get your message out, and I appreciate your help in doing so. um, and if the question is more towards my view on the market, I'm kind of, maybe I'm just in my nature to be a bit reserved about everything that's happening. I'm not sure we have effectively started a new bull market. There might be a drawback per se. And we also kind of need to factor in inflation, which was very crazy last few years. So like even all-time high isn't all-time high in my opinion if you factor in inflation. So still plenty room to grow, but to me it's more important to grow in terms of unique users that actually use DeFi and platforms such as Overtime, more so than whatever the price action does.
Yeah, and you're welcome that we are kind of wanting to give you guys airtime, because I do agree with you that there is, and you were obviously quite politically correct in how you said it, in that there is a lot of silliness, but that's just the nature of bull markets. So I'm going to disagree with you and say that I think you are incorrect in saying that we might not be in a bull market. I think we are pretty much full steam ahead, and I think it's very much indicative of the fact that there is a lot of silliness around. I think the silliness around meme coins is just simply an opportunity for us to be honest about what previously were governance tokens we now have as meme coins. I know that that might be, a little bit controversial, but governance tokens only have, in my opinion, a very limited use, and so do meme coins. And you could argue either side, it doesn't matter. But I think the silliness for me is what gives me a very good indication that we are in a bull market. And I'm really curious to see how we evolve from a DeFi perspective, because you're 120,000% correct, is that we need to effectively allow for the cream to rise. What does the cream mean in the context of DeFi, decentralization, permissionless, trustless, all of those things, but more importantly, solving problems that Web 2 is not actually solving. You guys, your use case is a perfect example of we're making this whole process a lot more efficient on a whole lot of levels. It's cheaper, it's faster. You don't require all kind of like those hurdles and those stumbling blocks. And now it's just a question of how long is it going to take for the market to realize that products like yours are really important in terms of the greater scheme of what Web3 is trying to achieve. And then secondly, what are the advantages for those users? So I love your answer though. It's a great answer because you are very aware of what's going on. It's also pretty cool that I'm in the same room with a bear because I'm the raging bull. So it's a good balance between the two of us. And hopefully the listeners get to pick up on that. But just going on to the next question, I mean, obviously, there's been this evolution within the product. You guys have now found almost this like really cool gem around transaction charges, and now it's giving you an opportunity to be more creative in how you present your products. How do you guys approach, coming back to, how do we get people involved in this thing? How do you guys now approach things from a marketing sponsorship perspective? Because we know that we see this, with betting products all across the board. I mean, I don't think I've watched a football game or a rugby game in the last year where at least 3 times during a match, I'm going to see a sports betting ad. Where do you guys fit into that? How do you guys plan on essentially playing in that space going forward?
We are a pure DAO, meaning there's no Web2 entity right now representing Overtime or Thales. This kind of inhibits our ability to make such B2B deals and to publicly advertise soccer games, NBA games, wherever. More so, the regulatory landscape for sports betting is a very tricky one, a very fiddly one. You'd have to get, like, every country has its own rules, so like you'd have to have eventually a business and a license in every country should you want to pursue such advertising opportunities. Having said that, the vision of Overtime is definitely to become this liquidity layer where even Web2 businesses can build on top of Overtime, meaning that you can build your sportsbook wherever, in whichever country, where you take zero risks. Basically, you use Overtime as the platform, as the backend. We already have this affiliate program where you can get up to 50% of our fees just by offering a front end for Overtime. So there's no reason why even Web2 businesses that are registered, incorporated, should not be using Overtime. We as a DAO may also choose to incorporate at some point and pursue this avenue ourselves. And at that point, we could do things as soccer ads or whatever, like just, be on par with Web2 advertising power. At the moment, though, we rely more on Web3 funnels and avenues to promote ourselves. As we already touched upon, we do these quest-like things around every event where we basically pay users tokens or otherwise incentives to kind of try our platform. We'll also be doing campaigns around account abstraction now that gas has dropped significantly. We'll sponsor user gas, and whatever else is available to us at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like it's quite a tricky landscape to navigate from a regulatory perspective. I really like that you are, from a business development perspective, looking at the prospects of established players within the Web3 space. I mean, the Web2 space, and then obviously affording them the opportunity to participate in the Web2 space. I think that could be hugely successful for you guys, and it'll be an interesting one to see how that develops over time. So good luck with it. I think, yeah, I mean, that would be amazing to see, like a Hollywood Bets or whoever the case might be, actually like using you guys as an underlying, essentially engine to run what it is that they're doing. I mean, it's kind of like, what are the biggest challenges that you guys face going forward? I think we've kind of touched on a few. Are there any others that you'd like to add? Like, as a business right now, what would you say are kind of like your biggest challenges?
Right now, we are good to rock. Gas was a huge challenge. Wallet complexity was a huge challenge. Those two are out of the way. What we need to do that now is to add more offering to get that product parity going. We need live betting, we need more markets, we just need to spread the word. So I do feel we are kind of good to go, as I was saying. So get that 1000x users incorporated. There are always other, more things you can do in terms of on-ramps. We can do native mobile apps. 90% of betting, statistically speaking, comes from mobile phones, and the dApps aren't, the people like native apps on mobile phones. They prefer those to using MetaMask wallet or whatever. So that's one thing we can focus on, obviously. Having direct integration within sexes. This is why we are on base chain. We are carving our way to eventually just allow Coinbase users to use overtime directly without any friction points. So yeah, always more work to be done on improving the UX and the on-ramps and getting more retail users. But other than that, I'd say there aren't any hurdles I can think of. Obviously, we touched upon regulatory. It can always become a roadblock, but I feel like even the mood for that is kind of changing, Maybe it's because it's an election year in US and everyone's busy kind of campaigning left and right, but I do feel the new administration will probably be more like crypto friendly, and that's kind of it will make things easier for us also in the long run.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we are definitely reaching a point where, it does help that we've got, the biggest asset management company in the world pumping their Bitcoin bags. I mean, it can only benefit the whole industry. And I mean, we've seen it, in the last 3 months, we've seen an unprecedented shift, from, like you said, all the FUD and all the noise to, very different noise and very different perspective on what this market is looking like. So I'd like to close off our chat today with a question around kind of like your personal journey and what has been kind of like the highlight around this product that you guys have built, and for you, what's been kind of like the biggest like thing that you sit back and think about, okay, cool, like really like hit a six with this one, like really hit a home run on this one?
It's difficult, not to toot my own horn, but it's difficult trying to be legit and organic in this space. It's difficult trying to be honest and focused on like just integrity as your biggest selling point. People don't really pay much attention to that, and we've kind of assumed after everything that happened in the last bear market, all the lunas and whatever other scams were out there, FTX, that people will be a bit more tentative towards which products are actually legit and honest. But it seems every cycle has kind of, maybe there are some improvements, but it's more of the same. So that's kind of challenging for me personally, but I still firmly believe that we should stay focused on our vision, on our path, that there's recognition to be had, and there are users who really appreciate that. I'm very proud to just look at the numbers and see that we've had like 50,000 unique users over over our lifespan, that we've paid like $100 million in winnings without ever rugging anyone or hurting anyone in any way. So really proud of just surviving bear market and having all those metrics. And yeah, I'm just really hopeful that now is our time, and it finally pays proper dividends. And again, when I do say proper dividends, I'm not looking for personal financial gain. What makes me much more happier is just seeing users actually enjoying and recognizing how much this protocol has improved their life and what they used to do in Web2.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important. I think the points that you touched on are super important. I think we need more people that are focused on finding the right answers within this experiment that is Web3. At the end of the day, we're figuring stuff out. It's like we just improving all the time, and it's cool when people actually notice that and they acknowledge you for that. So I totally see why that would be your proud moment. So yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. It's been really, really cool to speak to you, and it's great to have a genuine individual and a genuine product on the show with us. And yeah, we appreciate your time, man. It's been really cool to meet and chat, and good luck for the future. Look
Thank
forward to
you.
seeing what you guys do.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks everyone for listening in and watching. Please give us a like and subscribe, and I will leave links to Overtime Markets and Dan's Twitter and the rest of it in the description below. But once again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please share the vid if you enjoyed it. Yeah, take it easy and stay safe.
All right, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a like, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on for next time. See ya.